Around the time when you guys, after you turned this down, was this around 89? I mean, who was around that were singing like you guys? Because this is pre Boys to Men. So who was around that you could look at and say, okay, they're actually either you're modeling yourselves after or sounded like you guys?
We listened to Troop a lot. Troop was
Oh,
out. Yes. And they danced. And so we would learn their steps and sing their song. It's late at night, I hear the rain outside my window pane. We loved doing Troop stuff at Talent. Also, I think Jodeci had come out and done something with Brenda. Brenda's having a baby or something like that. Right when we moved to New York, that was when Jodeci and Mary J, Al B, Heavy D. I mean, it was that was like the epitome of the 90s. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so it was just an awesome thing to be a part of it. Working on our own album and bumping into Jodeci, like hanging out, Casey and JoJo, talking to them. It was really cool. It was really cool to meet some of these people and be an Oklahoma kid who had never been out of his own state. Yeah. And still pretty much a teenager in New York City, living there and meeting all these people that you watched on TV and listened to on the radio. Bobby Brown. Okay, I'm leaving this out. The group that inspired us to be a group was New Edition.
Okay.
New Edition was that group. And so we did a lot of their stuff at talent shows too. I loved Ralph Tresvant. I'm a Scorpio like Ronnie. So, here's the crazy thing. So this group is the group that we were like, this is who we want to be like when we grow up.
Yeah.
They're not much older than us. And Bobby Brown's record, by the way, was, I wore out every song on that first record. Don't Be Cruel. Our very first tour was the Club MTV tour. And it was with
Bell Biv.
Yeah, so they were doing that. Girl is poison. They were doing that. So imagine how a kid feels. You're trying to take this in and you're a fan, but you're also getting out on that stage and performing on the same stage with these people. It was really surreal, man.
Yeah. I mean, I noticed that you got signed by Cassandra Mills, who was head of Giant Records, and she discovered Jade at the same time. I think Hammer was on your label at that time.
I just talked to Cassandra Mills yesterday.
Okay. Okay.
So funny. I just got a song that I wrote, my first single actually. It's called Because of You. It was placed in a movie.
Oh.
For the Love of Money. It's got Cat Stevens in it. It's got Keith Sweat. I haven't seen the movie yet, honestly.
Okay.
But I got a song placed in this movie, and she's the one that helped me. Melvin Childs, he's from here in Oklahoma.
I think I've seen Chris Sweat promote the movie, and I didn't understand why. So he must have had so that's probably the connection. I saw him promoting the film, on his social media, and I'm thinking, why is he doing that? And so because he has a song placed like yourself. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Love of Money.
And so that was my literal first debut solo single, and it was placed on a movie soundtrack. Exactly. Here's the crazy thing of the whole deal. Cassandra Mills signed us. Okay. She's the one that signed us to Giant Records. And all these years later, and I've talked to her maybe 5 times in 25 years, but lately, because of that song, she's the one that got us on the New Jack City soundtrack. So now I'm doing a solo deal at 52 years old. And guess who signs me my first movie soundtrack deal? The same woman. And I'm like, got all the stars lining up and saying, man, you need to get ready. You need to be ready. Yeah. Whatever happens, I don't believe in coincidence at all. Yeah. It just makes me want to focus more.
Yeah.
So that was really interesting. And it wasn't like we were looking for each other. I didn't know who was putting the soundtrack together. I just had Melvin Childs approach me and say, hey man, I'd like to put one of your songs in the movie. And so that was pretty amazing, man. That's kind of what.
No, and later on we will talk about, you know, your music and what we can expect from you. The one of the things that we've been doing over the past couple of weeks has been just showcasing over 120 movie soundtracks from the 80s, from the 90s. And New Jack City was probably one of my favorites because it was, you know, Troop were on there. It had Guy, because I was a big Teddy Riley fan. So
oh my God,
it had Levert. It had Christopher Williams. I mean, it's one of our
Ice-T.
Yeah, I see. Yeah,
like Keith Sweat.
Yeah.
There was a bunch of artists on that record.
Yeah,
and going to release our song as a single. Not even going to release it. It was just on the album, and we were good with that. I'm like, we're on this record with these people. Are you kidding me? I don't care if it comes out or not.
Well, how did you feel about recording when you got Freeze, Dr. Freeze? Because from Spider-Man, you know, in case people don't know, Dr. Freeze did Poison. And he was his partners, Spider-Man and Freeze.
Mm-hmm.
They also did Hit Me Off by New Edition. But when they presented a single to you, what did you guys think of it at first? Or what did you think? Okay.
I loved it. We loved it. And the reason was because it had old 50s and 60s chords in it. It had like a retro kind of sound, but kind of new and fresh. And so hip hop doo-wop is what we considered our sound. I mean, it was basically like street vocals singing doo-wop and throwing some drums on it, you know? So we were excited. Chris turned it down. Somebody else turned it down too. I can't remember who, but a couple people turned that song down. They offered it.
They said Bell Biv DeVoe when they were doing the Poison, they turned it down. Yeah.
And so we heard it. We were just excited because we were New Edition fans and Bell Biv DeVoe fans. And this is who made Bell Biv DeVoe, blew them up. Those first couple of songs, Dr. Freeze and Spider-Man. So we were excited.
Did it catch you by surprise how quickly the song took off?
Yes, definitely. We went to the premiere of the movie, and Aaron Hall is the one that drove us because none of us had cars out.
He's the nasty man himself.
Aaron came and picked us up. He had a big wheel back of his Jeep, you know, when they have the big wheels.
Yeah.
And he had a face like graffitied, so he's got his own face on his. He comes and picks us up, and on the way there, I am very serious. On the way there, we're all kind of joking. He was crazy like we are, and had the windows down, and we start hearing boom, 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 and I'm like, that's our song. So we're rolling down the window, and so we're acting like idiots. That's us, and people had never seen us. We had never put anything out yet.
Yeah.
It was already bumping in the streets before we even saw the premiere. That's how fast. They said that record caught on really fast, and it got so many radio requests that they just decided to release it as a single. So they released it as a single, and then a little while after that, they pull our single. We hadn't had an album out yet, but Giant pulled our single because they wanted to sell more New Jack City records.
Okay.
Now, what we were told, we need to sell more of these records, so we're going to pull this single for a while. That's why there's different pictures. You know, there was the first one with the skyline and no faces.
Yeah.
It sold a bunch more New Jack City records. Then they put it out again.
Okay.
And then it had faces, and so. It
was my first movie soundtrack that I did buy. Now, at the time it came out, I was going to boarding school in Nigeria. So, because sometimes I do these interviews, and you know, I went to college in the US, and I'm here in the UK, and it's quite easy to think, okay, when a song is big in the US. But when I try and remind my guests that sometimes when I heard a track, especially late 80s and early 90s, I was still going to high school in Nigeria. And when a track becomes that big, and crosses over internationally. And this is pre-internet and pre-social media. So it has to be a really powerful, a big song for us to be hearing it in Nigeria. So I do remember it being and say, wow, this is quite different, it's, and I guess it's, because, we had Luke and Two Live Crew having their own little litigations, and then you're saying, I want to sex you up. And was quite rare for an R&B song, a mainstream R&B song, to be singing on that and stuff. Did you, and I wonder how much of that controversy made a difference in this, because the song, the lyrics, how much do you think it made a difference in how quickly it caught on?
We were Christian boys, okay? And when I don't mean it lightly, like we were a little overboard even in school. Okay. So we were praying before. Kevin and Sam carried Bibles around with them at school. No, no joke. And we pray before meals. We would pray before performances, joining hands and just, Father, help us, give our best and watch over us, help us to not make any mistakes and that sort of thing. Yeah. And so imagine those kind of boys who were still pretty innocent. We weren't the party. We weren't the jocks. We didn't go and party and hang out, and we weren't really exposed to the real big, life in general. Mm. So when that song, it excited us a lot because we were told it was to a scene. and then I was a little worried, honestly. I was really excited, but I had that feeling in the pit of my stomach because we had always, in our prayers, said we were giving our word that if we ever got blessed with an opportunity like that, we were going to do the right thing with it. We weren't going to let it go to and then here we are, the very first song we're putting out is I Want to Say. I'm like, struck down by lightning before it hit.
How did you guys balance that though? Because as I said, I've heard other, because a lot of the sort of Black R&B acts come from church, and when they become and they get into R&B and they are singing a little bit, more risque songs, which seems to sort of be different from what they were used to. But how did you guys balance that out? Like, okay, here's a song, and did you separate yourselves from it, or was it a really hard battle?
We kept in our minds and continued to tell people that it was written for a movie. It's not really what we would have come out of the risque like that, but it was written for a particular part of a movie, for one. Another really interesting thing is our management company, Good Management. They were family with Kool and the Gang, like all these guys, tons of them everywhere. They got a big crew, like Kool, East, Ronald Bell, like there's a whole bunch of them. Yeah. And they converted to Muslim when they were young. And so we come as Christian boys and we would pray with them and we would talk with them. And that's when we broadened our minds a little bit. And it was like, okay, we all agree there's only one God, but he falls under a lot of different names. You can't be on all these different parts of the planet and not meeting and still say there's someone out there or something, however, people want to put it. Yeah. But it kind of in our minds a little bit, and that put us at ease too, because, our own management company, who they always, made sure that they did Ramadan. I don't remember a lot about it, but they, and that sort of thing. Yeah. So I thought we're in good hands. We've got some that are representing us and they wouldn't steer us wrong.
Thanks for watching. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, but most importantly, to press the notification bell so that you can be notified when we do have a new interview. Loads to come, but thanks a lot for watching.